I don't believe that to be the case. And I believe that Iran and Russia and China and the United States and Wall Street and cypherpunks can all use this thing and work on this thing, and it's going to succeed no matter what. And that's still my foundational belief. And then the other point is, listen, Bitcoin is a wealth transfer. It's arguably the greatest wealth transfer in human history. We are actively monetizing a new thing. And what I mean by monetizing is, the world is the total ownership of assets of things by humans today is about $900 trillion.
If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights into the digital asset space. Your support boosts the algorithm and helps this channel grow immensely. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the video. One of the strongest philosophical points Jack Mallers makes is that Bitcoin must remain open to everyone if it is to succeed as true global money. According to Mallers, Bitcoin is fundamentally built on the idea that money should be universal and independent. He argues that the phrase "money for all" must literally include everyone: friends, enemies, governments, corporations, and even nations in conflict with one another. He explains that if Bitcoin could somehow be ruined simply because Wall Street, governments, or rival nations began using it, then Bitcoin was never truly decentralized or strong enough in the first place. This is a critical distinction in his philosophy. Mallers believes that money represents human time and energy in abstract form. When governments or centralized institutions control money, they gain the power to manipulate and devalue that stored energy through inflation and monetary policy. In his view, Bitcoin changes that dynamic because it exists independently of political systems. He frames Bitcoin as a form of digital property with immutable property rights. No government, corporation, or central authority can arbitrarily alter its supply or manipulate ownership rules. That means Bitcoin must remain neutral. It must work equally for the United States, China, Russia, Iran, Wall Street institutions, independent developers, ordinary citizens. For Mallers, neutrality is not a flaw. It is the entire point. Just as the internet became successful because anyone could use it regardless of nationality or ideology, Bitcoin's success depends on universal accessibility and resistance to centralized control.
A few things. One, if Wall Street getting into Bitcoin kills it, it was never going to be successful in the first place.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's, in my opinion, is predicated on this idea that it is money for all. And the all part should be explored. That means your enemies too. That means, the ex-wife that cheated on you. That means your neighbor that's a fan of the opposing football club. That's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That means nation states that are your enemies, nation states you're at war with. That means for all. And the philosophical idea for me is that money is property and is a fundamental right. Again, it's your time and energy in an abstracted form. And if that responsibility is ever delegated to a person or a government or a company, they can debase the money, they can debase you. And so I think that needs to be an independent property that has property rights. And so, yeah, anyone should be able to get into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin should succeed no matter their intentions or their usage. And if that's not the case, then we built and designed a product that is flawed. And so I don't believe that to be the case. And I believe that Iran and Russia and China and the United States and Wall Street and cypherpunks can all use this thing and work on this thing, and it's going to succeed no matter what. And that's still my foundational belief. And then the other point is, listen, Bitcoin is a wealth transfer. It's arguably the greatest wealth transfer in human history. We are actively monetizing a new thing. And what I mean by monetizing is, the world is the total ownership of assets of things by humans today is about $900 trillion. Half of that is we're using it as money. So, $900 trillion is made up of currency and government debt and real estate and equities and precious metals like gold and Bitcoin and fine art and all the stuff that we have. Okay. And about half of it, so $400 to $500 trillion worth, we're monetizing. So people are owning real estate, not because they sleep in it, not because they live in it, but because they're trying to save money. people own art, not because it's hanging on the kitchen wall where their toddler can throw spaghetti at it and ruin it, but it's in a vault. So like Ken Griffin's art is in a vault, and he's storing it because he paid $10 million for a painting and he thinks it'll be worth at least $10 million in the future. And so humans are actively trying to monetize things that perform best for them in a monetary sense. And Bitcoin is competing for that. It's actively being monetized. But what that implies is that where wealth exists today will transfer into where wealth is going tomorrow. And in our opinion, collectively, it's Bitcoin. So that means Wall Street and art collectors and real estate portfolio managers. Like what's the two brothers, the Cardone?
Oh yeah, Grant Cardone.
I don't know much about them, but they seem to be real estate guys that are turning that wealth. They've monetized real estate and now they're monetizing Bitcoin. So it has, like, our vision has the implication that where wealth exists today, those things will be demonetized. Like real estate will be demonetized, fine art will be demonetized, government debt will be demonetized, and Bitcoin will be monetized. So it has the obvious implication that these people will be involved at some point. So I find it a little contradictory that like people are like, Bitcoin's going to be the money, but like, why is Wall Street interested in that? It's like, well, Tether is my co-founders. We knew that this was going to be hard. I think there's a reason it doesn't exist. I view it as a great idea and something that the market would value tremendously. It's my opinion. That's why I started it. But it's hard. And I think if it were easy, a lot of these would exist. So yeah, our vision is, to be more specific, to have multiple divisions within the business. So financial services and distribution, so that we can build brokerage products, lending products, custody products, payment products, prime products, potential banking services, so cards. There's a full yield on assets on the platform, like yield on cash. There's so much we can do to distribute Bitcoin economic financial services. Another division I call Bitcoin infrastructure. So there is a physical layer to the Bitcoin economy. We're talking about power generation. We're talking about energy markets. I view the story of humanity as commercializing energy from the sun. And the better we have access to energy, the more prosperous our lives are and our species is. And I think Bitcoin is going to play, and already has played, an important chapter, in that story. And I think that 21 should be a participant in that. And then we have the more treasury side of the business, which is capital markets and mergers and acquisitions. And that is exploring opportunities and potential leverage. Like, I don't think leverage is a bad thing. I would ideally like to be able to finance it with things like cash flow instead of implied dilution, and mergers and acquisitions, where we can look at other assets that would be viewed as strategic, or other companies that we think would be better off joining us in building this network effect and economy to scale, and almost this Bitcoin conglomerate of sorts. And even on the capital market stuff, man, there's so much we can do. So far, what's been displayed as Bitcoin has interfaced with capital markets are convertible bonds, preferred equities. But as a business that potentially also has lending and mining, we can securitize our loan book. We can securitize our mining revenue, and we can try and aim to have these things AAA rated. And there's so much innovation that we view as bringing operating businesses and cash flow to the capital markets as well. So that's some more detail on the vision. And I think Dorsey is one of Bitcoin's unsung heroes, and
Absolutely.
Block is like one of my favorite companies personally that exists today. But yeah, they started as a merchant acquiring platform, and so much of their business continues to be both serving the underserved in America with Cash App and serving merchant acquirers with Square. Bitcoin is a growing part of their business, but I don't think it's the whole company. And what I want XXI to be when someone buys a share and owns that equity is a very unique expression of Bitcoin, and hopefully all the cool ways.
Another major topic Mallers discusses is what he calls one of the largest wealth transfers humanity has ever witnessed. He explains this through the concept of monetization. According to Mallers, the world currently holds approximately $900 trillion worth of assets. These assets include real estate, government bonds, currency, gold, stocks, fine art, commodities, Bitcoin. But here's the key insight. A massive percentage of these assets are not being held because people actively use them. They're being held because people are trying to preserve wealth. For example, investors buy expensive real estate not just to live in it, but to protect purchasing power. Billionaires store artwork in vaults because they believe the art will maintain value over time. Governments issue debt instruments that people hold as financial stores of value. Mallers argues that humans are constantly searching for the best form of money, the best asset capable of preserving value across time, and Bitcoin is now competing directly against all of those traditional stores of value. This means wealth currently stored in real estate, gold, government debt, fine art could eventually flow into Bitcoin. That process, according to Mallers, represents a massive global demonetization of older assets and a monetization of Bitcoin itself. This is why he says Wall Street's involvement is inevitable. If Bitcoin truly becomes superior money, then institutions, hedge funds, banks, and asset managers will naturally move toward it because capital always seeks the strongest store of value. In other words, Wall Street entering Bitcoin isn't a betrayal of Bitcoin's mission. It may actually be proof that Bitcoin is succeeding.
I had a keynote at Bitcoin 2026, and it was fun because everyone says online, I wear two hats. So for those that don't know, I'm the founder and CEO of Strike, which you can think of as like a Bitcoin bank of sorts. We're not an actual bank, but we provide Bitcoin financial services, buy and sell, custody, credit, lending, all sorts of stuff. And then the other hat I wear is I'm co-founder and CEO of 21. And 21 owns 42,514 Bitcoin. That's the second largest corporate holding in the world behind Strategy. And we're a public business traded on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker XXI. And as I became increasingly confident that I would be talking about both of my businesses, I was like, should I just pack both my hats and make the whole meme that I wear two hats real? And so I did, and I got on stage, and the first half of the presentation was about new features Strike launched, predominantly in our credit products, and some of them partnered with Tether. And then for the 21 section, I outlined my vision, as you described, for a Bitcoin business that isn't necessarily a treasury company or a crypto exchange, and tried to counterposition 21 in a way that makes us unique, because ultimately that's why Tether and I started the business with this vision in mind. Now, the order of operations and how we got to where we are, we can discuss, and potential mistakes we made and things in hindsight we would have done differently. But nonetheless, that's why we started the company, and finally communicating that vision was really exciting. So I think that's what you're referencing. And the vision itself, we can get into, but the way I see the crypto Bitcoin space at large is on one side of the spectrum, you have what I called crypto exchanges, but it's not even limited to that. I would say you have companies that are monetizing speculation. So one way that you can monetize and build a business around currency debasement and this current era of fiat that we're in is provide a place for people to speculate, because the reality is, whether people know it or not, they're all speculators, because the currency that they're getting paid in and that they're forced to use via their government is being debased. And so you can't actually just save in the money that you're forced to use via law. You have to turn that money into something that can actually preserve purchasing power and that you can save in. And so whether everyone knows it or not, we're all speculators. And so a great business during this little window of human history will be a place for people to speculate. And we're starting to see all these businesses form into this same thing. Coinbase, which was a crypto business, is now offering equities and sports gambling. Robinhood, which was an equities business, is now offering crypto and sports gambling. Sports gambling companies are now interested in offering crypto and equities. Prediction markets, which are a new phenomenon, are now offering crypto and want to list equities. And so that side of the spectrum, as I define it, is monetizing rampant speculation. And I would say on the total opposite side of the spectrum, as I view it, are treasury companies. And they're the opposite because they have very much conviction in Bitcoin, but they don't actually focus on and invest in and build operating business. So on one side, you have Coinbase and Robinhood. These are great companies economically. I'm not saying that they're good or bad. I'm defining them as what I view them as, which are businesses that make a lot of money, experience a lot of growth, but don't necessarily have conviction in Bitcoin or anything for that matter. When you look at Coinbase's balance sheet, they have over $10 billion of fiat and $1 billion of Bitcoin. And you're like, well, wait, do you guys even believe in what we're all working on here? And I think my interpretation of Coinbase's position as a company is neutrality. They can't say what their favorite altcoin is. They can't say what their favorite equities are, because that would turn off all the other customers that are there to list their own token and their own project. They have to be neutral. As long as everyone's there and depositing money and placing bets, they don't care the future of the world. So you have a very successful business without a convicted vision of Bitcoin and a sound money future. And then treasury companies on the totally opposite side of the spectrum. I mean, Michael Saylor, Metaplanet, they sell Bitcoin conviction. That's their product, right? They never sell. We're going to buy as much as possible. So they have all the conviction in the world. You can make the argument that no one's more convicted, but they don't have operating cash flow to finance that conviction. And so then philosophically, you ask the question, well, who's financing their conviction ultimately? How can they afford to be so convicted in Bitcoin? Because the operating business is not what I describe as productive. Productive meaning it produces more value for the world than it consumes from the world. That's a profitable business. And so what I outlaid is 21 would like to be in the middle of those two, where we take the best of what a Coinbase or a Robinhood is, which is a cash generating, high growth business, whilst also displaying high Bitcoin conviction while owning Bitcoin on our balance sheet, firmly believing in a Bitcoin future, and, expressing economically via, potential leverage and accumulation that, Bitcoin is the future we want to see. Does that make sense?
Underlying the entire conversation is Maller's deep criticism of fiat monetary systems. He argues that inflation forces ordinary people into constant speculation because simply saving money in traditional currencies no longer preserves purchasing power. This creates what he sees as an unhealthy financial environment where everyone becomes a trader, people are pushed into risky investments, financial speculation becomes normalized. Bitcoin, in his view, offers an alternative because its monetary supply is fixed and transparent. He believes this creates a stronger foundation for long-term economic stability and personal savor,